All right, let's talk about bees. What started as this weird mystery in just a few beehives has, exploded into this huge global conversation. We're talking about our food, our economy, and really the delicate balance of the entire ecosystem. It's a pretty complex story, and we're going to unpack it right now.
So, why is this such a big deal? Well, to really get why this is so critical, we just need to look at one single, really powerful number. Seriously, this one number puts the whole thing into perspective.
1/3. Just think about that. One out of every 3 bites of food you eat, it's all thanks to pollinators. And yeah, there are thousands of different bee species, but it's the European honeybee that's the absolute MVP for global farming. It's kind of crazy, right? How much we depend on this one tiny creature.
And this bee, the European honeybee, is just incredibly adaptable. It started out in Africa or Asia, but with our help, it's become a true global citizen. I mean, it's pretty amazing. This insect has been our partner in farming for thousands of years, literally shaping how we eat. But, and it's a big but, in the 21st century, that ancient partnership started to face a threat like never before.
Okay, so let's get into the real mystery here, the thing that kicked off all this global concern. Because this isn't just a simple case of a few bees dying off. No, it was something much, much weirder. Something that just didn't make sense. It almost felt like it went against the very nature of what a beehive is. So, humans have been working with bees since the time of the pharaohs, right? But the story takes this really dramatic turn in 2006. Beekeepers, especially in North America, started noticing something super unsettling. They'd go to their hives, and it wasn't that they were finding lots of dead bees, the bees were just gone, vanished. Scientists gave this a name. They called it colony collapse disorder, or CCD for short. And the key thing here, the thing that makes it so strange, is this sudden, mysterious abandonment of the hive. The worker bees just disappear, leaving behind their queen, plenty of food, and the baby bees. It makes no sense. It's the complete opposite of their most basic instinct, which is to protect the colony at all costs. In the impact, it was absolutely staggering. The population just plummeted. I mean, the National Resource Defense Council figured that since 2006, nearly a third of all bees in North America had just vanished, gone. That sent their numbers crashing down to a 50-year low. And this wasn't just a bee problem. A major UN-backed group, the IPBES, confirmed that this wasn't some isolated thing. Butterflies, too, are disappearing in a lot of the same places. And that's a huge red flag, right? It signals a much bigger problem with our planet's pollinators in general.
Okay, so what does this all mean for us? Like, what are the real world consequences if this keeps up? Let's take a look at what a world without bees would actually look like. Specifically, what would disappear from our dinner plates and what would be left?
And this really makes it clear what's at stake. So the good news is our staple crops, think rice, wheat, corn, they're pollinated by the wind. We wouldn't starve. But the bad news is our diet would get a whole lot less nutritious and, honestly, a lot more boring. We'd lose so many fruits, vegetables, nuts, all the stuff that gives us essential vitamins and minerals. That IPBS report had another staggering number, more than 3/4. Over 75% of the world's main food crops rely on animal pollination. And it's not just a simple question of do we get a fruit or not. Pollination affects the quality too, the size, the shape, everything. The scale of how much we depend on them is just massive.
And if we're going to talk numbers, let's talk about money. We're looking at hundreds of billions of dollars. That's the estimated value of global farming that relies on these pollinators every single year. So this isn't just about nutrition. A major drop in bee populations would be a huge economic shock just waiting to happen. Think higher prices for us and way lower profits for farmers.
So the big question is, what's causing all this? What's behind the collapse? Well, if this was a detective story, you'd be looking at a whole room full of suspects, but no single obvious smoking gun. The answer, as it turns out, is super complex. Yeah, there's no one single culprit here. Instead, what scientists think is happening is a combination of things, like a perfect storm of different stressors all hitting the bees at once. So let's line up the usual suspects.
Man, the list is long and it's all connected. So you've got global warming, which is messing with when flowers bloom. The bees might wake up and oops, they've missed the party. Then there are pesticides. A big study in the UK found a direct link between some pesticides and, quote, large-scale population extinctions of wild bees. And that's not even getting into losing their habitats to development, new diseases, and just the general stress of being a bee in the modern farm system. But just when it seems like we have our culprits lined up, the case isn't quite closed. Some experts have thrown a really surprising twist into the whole story, a twist that makes you question what the crisis really is.
So let's pivot and look at a whole new perspective on this problem. Because some voices out there are starting to ask a pretty provocative question. Are we even worrying about the right bees?
And this idea completely reframes the debate. On one hand, you have the view that modern life is causing this huge, catastrophic collapse of honeybees. But on the other hand, there's a different take, that CCD is actually a problem that's been happening for centuries, and bees tend to recover. And get this. This viewpoint suggests the domesticated honeybee is actually doing okay. It's recovering. The real crisis, they say, is the one nobody's talking about, the one happening to the thousands of wild native bee species, the ones that don't make honey for us but are still absolutely essential pollinators. So in the end, while the experts are still debating the exact scale of the crisis and which bees are most at risk, the whole conversation has acted like a massive global alarm bell. It's forced us to ask ourselves a really tough question. Have we been so focused on the one type of bee that serves us, the honeybee, that we've completely missed the silent collapse of all the other wild pollinators that keep the whole planet running? The answer to that, well, it might just tell us more about ourselves than it does about the bees.